Yuck! Smell it again! That's disgusting!
That's my ass!
Who's driving? It's over 9. What? Trap car!
Additional.
Use the boots to get it!
No.
Huh? What the f?
Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime. I am your online voice for reviews of your choice, and welcome to BS Reviews. Today, we take a look at a film based on a comic book graphic novel. It has been one of the more highly anticipated and mega hyped up films of this year. It is the movie known as Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass is brought to you by Lionsgate Entertainment. It was directed by Matthew Vaughn, who's worked on such films as Layer Cake and Stardust. It was written by Matthew Vaughn along with Jane Goldman. It stars Aaron Johnson as Dave Lizowiecki, aka Kick-Ass, Evan Peters as Todd, Clark Duke as Marty, Mark Strong as Frank D'Amico, Christopher Mintz-Plasse as Chris D'Amico, aka Red Mist, Chloe Moretz as Mindy McCready, aka Hit Girl, and Nicolas Cage as Damon McCready, aka Big Daddy. The plot of Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass focuses on an unfortunate teenager, Dave Lizowiecki, who is obsessed with comic books and always feels bad that so much crime exists in the city and then no one ever does anything about it because there are no real-life superheroes. And the main reason, as said by his friends, is that someone would probably get their ass kicked if they tried to be a superhero in today's modern world. Well, Dave gets the idea to order a scuba suit, customizes it, and decides to call himself Kick-Ass, a real-life modern superhero where he tries to fight real crime with real painful results. However, his interest in superheroism has sparked a huge controversy and made him the most popular person around town, including spawning several other superheroes who are following his example, such as the murderous pair of father-daughter duo, Big Daddy and Hit Girl, and the glorified showboat, Red Mist. Unfortunately, this also catches the attention of Frank D'Amico, a real-life villain who's actually a mafia boss, who's getting fed up that superheroes are taking out his men and slaughtering them and making him look like an idiot. So now, Frank D'Amico wants to send a message to all superheroes and wipe out everyone, Red Mist, Kick-Ass, Big Daddy, Hit Girl, and show them that superheroes cannot exist in this world, and Kick-Ass is here to prove him wrong. Review of the plot. Now, something you should know about this movie is that, as I said, it's been hyped up the ass. I've been hearing about this movie for a frickin' long ass time. So many people were looking forward to it. I have to say, though, to be honest, I was not one of them. Nothing about this really struck me as anything impressive. And considering this is based off the Mark Millar's work, the same guy who did the god-awful Wanted film, I didn't really have any high expectations. Certainly nowhere near as high as the expectation that people have been setting it. However, once I saw this movie, I have to say, it was truly a unique piece of work. I have never really seen a film quite like this because it mixes a wide variety of everything. And one of the great things about this film, which is what actually was one of the few things that drew me to it, was the appealing idea of what would happen if someone in real life tried to be a superhero. They tried that in Mystery Men, but the movie was far too surreal and bizarre to really be taken that seriously in that context, whereas here they definitely did try that. And that's the one thing I think this story did magnificently, is showing the real life consequences and benefits of what it is to be a real superhero, or at least try to be like one. Unfortunately, the movie kind of trips over its own feet, as many people have mentioned towards the ending of this, and with certain characters, the realism is thrown out the door for more Kill Bill Matrix-style violence and action. And while this is thoroughly entertaining, to the story this is actually quite detrimental, because I was hoping for, as it was promoted as, a realistic superhero film. Now, you guys can get your own interpretation from what you see of the trailers. I think they're kind of bullshit because they give a very, very incorrect sense of what the movie is actually like. It's far more gruesome, violent, and graphic in terms of language and gore than the trailers are ever going to give you the hint at. And for those of you who know the story already, then you're probably okay with it, but on a movie on its own, I do have to say I was quite disappointed that the realistic superhero approach was departed towards the film for more of this flashy gore Kill Bill style. It was quite entertaining, and visually it was incredibly appealing, but I felt the movie kind of lost its way. review of the characters. I have to say, if you're picking a guy to be a geeky kid trying to be a superhero, Aaron Johnson is definitely the way to go. I mean, this kid is so weird and awkward looking, and he actually makes a pretty good transformation as Kick-Ass, trying so hard to be this hard-ass superhero. I was really impressed with him, and I actually thought that he wasn't in there enough as much. I mean, this movie's called Kick-Ass, and yet it seems to be focusing on the other people more so in the film, which is one of the problems I have with the film. I mean, you got these other guys going for superheroes. Christopher Mintz-Plasse as Red Mist. I don't know if I'm saying Christopher Mintz's last name right, but I don't care at this point. Was really impressive because everyone knows him as McLovin. And here, it was a real good opportunity for him to try something drastically different. And here, he really did. Again, the commercials do not do this movie any kind of justice because they portrayed Red Mist's character completely different than how he actually is in the movie. I'm not going to say what it is to spoil it for any of you guys, but I have to say, I was very impressed with his performance. I think he took it very seriously, and he proved that he can live past the title of McLovin. Nicolas Cage duo with him and Chloe Moretz. They were really interesting because, again, they're nothing like the trailers show them. Nicolas Cage has been ripped on for many of his roles in films, and as they say, he's kind of hit or miss. Here, he's a definite hit. I mean, he was funny and creepy at the same time. He created a nice balance of mix of being this charming, amusing father, yet at the same time, this twisted, sicko psychopath who's brutalizing these mafia men for blood vengeance and bringing his 11-year-old daughter in here, Minnie McCready Hit Girl, played by Chloe Moretz. Now, I'm sorry to say, but contrary to popular belief, I really don't see what the big friggin' fuss is about this girl. I mean, I understand that she's, cool and all, but really, I don't see her as this much of a breakout star. People have been saying that she's the real scene stealer of the whole film, but in truth, I didn't really get that from her. I didn't find her that impressive. I mean, the concept of the character is great. The way they're saying she's impacted the movie, I really am not seeing the wow factor here. And part of it is just because of the fact that it is an 11-year-old girl doing these vicious things. Now, I personally don't have a problem with someone that young swearing. The gore, however, is something that it can be quite glaring, and I may sound like a pussy for saying this, but it is kind of disturbing seeing someone this young doing this kind of vicious work. It's one thing to see it on comic book pages. It's quite another to see a real-life 11-year-old girl do this. And I'm sorry, but I cannot for the life of me love her superhero name. Hit Girl? Really? Is this the best you could have come up with? This is almost as lame as Captain Nazi from the DC comic books. I mean, while you're at it, why don't you just take Slap Girl and Tackle Woman or something while you're at it? To me, that's just how stupid the name sounds. It's just my personal opinion and not a knock against the film, but I just didn't feel it was that impressive of a name. I thought it was kind of lame. I was really impressed with Mark Strong playing Frank D'Amico. I was worried he was going to be too wooden after his performance in the Sherlock Holmes movie, playing the center villain there. But here, he really showed some good range, both in terms of the acting and his physical prowess. I mean, he plays a realistic guy. You can actually feel for this guy and understand what's going on with him. It really proves that he can do much more in this film. I was very impressed with that. Review of the cinematography and the music. Both of these are probably the absolute best highlight of the film. I mean, the writing is excellent in terms of the humor and the content of that, but this is where it really shines. I mean, much like Watchmen, the visuals are absolutely breathtaking with beautiful dark visuals and images, excellent choice of music that really emphasize each dark moment and each humorous moment. So incredibly visualistic with how they handle this. Even when it gets from serious to silly, they really know how to make this movie just such a visual feast of interesting shots and camera angles and close-ups. They really did a good job emphasizing the whole mood of this movie through the imagery. Flaws about the film. The biggest problem with Kick-Ass is that this film has an extremely difficult time trying to find out what the hell it wants to be. Sometimes it's comedy, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's dramatic, sometimes romantic, sometimes it's really dark shit. And that's the real issue here. It does not know what it wants to be. And it's really hard because this movie sends you such mixed signals. On the one hand, people are actually praising Hit Girl for slaughtering these people. Yet the film has this weird idea of actually trying to make you horrified by one moment, and the next thing they want to make it hilarious. And it's like, what do you want this movie to be? Here, it's a bad idea to try to make it serious and silly at the same time because you don't know which side you're trying to lean towards. It sends you a mixed feeling, and it sends you an even worse mixed feeling in your stomach because you're glorifying this stuff when you don't know if you're supposed to laugh or cry at it. I can't really say what this movie was supposed to be. And I don't know for anyone who can honestly say that, because if you just stop glorifying over the Kill Bill style gore effects, you can realize that if you take a minute to think about it, this movie really has a hard time figuring out who it wants to be. Final wrap up, Kick-Ass is not the masterpiece that people have hyped it up to be. I think the hype is completely off basis, and this film is nowhere near as Godzilla holy shit than people were making it out to be. However, I was extremely surprised to see how entertaining and incredibly visualistic this film was. You have an excellent, strong cast with Nicolas Cage, Chloe Moretz, Mark Strong, Aaron Johnson, Christopher Mintz-Plasse. You have some really interesting characters with some well-developed actors who go beyond their boundaries and prove that they can be compelling, funny, and serious at the same time. Intense fight sequences, beautiful music. Unfortunately, the film kind of cripples itself by tripping over its multiple story genres. It doesn't know where it wants to go, who it wants to be. I just did not feel the character Hit Girl warrants the kind of massive publicity and support people are giving her. And I don't think people are looking at this movie the way they should be and are too flashy-eyed by the gore and the special effects to really look at this film in its disjointed true self. Bottom line, I give Kick-Ass 3.5 stars out of 5. Well, that's all for now. This has been Bionic Slime for BS Reviews. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye for now.